Week 17 and a happy Boxing Day to all you Canadians and Commonwealthers, as it is a holiday edition of Saving Thursday presented by BetVictor. My name is Ryan Pinder alongside producer Jack in our Calgary studios. And look at the festive professor himself. It is Tyson Cole cooking up mustaches in the laboratory as well as prop bets. And we've got a fun one today as the Seattle Seahawks are in Chicago to take on the Bears. Tyson, Merry ho, 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 happy holiday, Christmas, all that good stuff. How are you?
Merry Christmas, guys. It's great. I mean, I'm excited. We had almost a full day of football. Just missed the night games. That was fine. I mean, we're spoiled with Christmas football, and we get a little bit more action tonight. Is it not crazy that championship week, your fantasy, and
yes,
Christmas week, there's Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday football.
And last week we had the Friday, like it's been absolute chaos. There's been so much football, and you get into the rhythm of just the Thursday, Sunday, Monday, just the Thursday, and now it's just like you're at the buffet table. It's only a few weeks away from being like, oh yeah, there's like 7 games left or something crazy like that.
Yeah, and then
savor the flavor.
Upset. Sorry?
Savor the flavor. It's gone soon.
I know. I mean, I'm soaking it all in right now. We need to.
Yesterday, Chiefs victorious. They have clinched the AFC top seed. They are the number 1 team in the conference. They will have the bye. They also are seeking a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl, and they have been how do I frame this properly? They've been a little more convincing of late. They've returned Isaiah Pacheco, although he hasn't been awesome. They've gotten Hollywood Brown back. Patrick Mahomes is starting to put up QB1 numbers. They also haven't really wowed. They still haven't got over 30 points on the season in a single game. But the Chiefs are certainly a team you do not want to face, because when push comes to shove with 1 possession left, you know they're going to get some BS call that drives you nuts from the officials. And it's Patty Mahomes to Travis Kelce, even when everyone knows it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. Like you just said, we all know it's going to happen. But, I mean, you said it. They're looking a little bit better as of late. I know a lot of people were like kind of writing this team off. Like, yeah, sure, they've only got 1 loss, but they're not looking convincing doing it. Are they really going to be able to translate that into the playoffs? But, I mean, right now they are looking really good, and they've got Hollywood Brown back, which I think is a big weapon. And Xavier Worthy is also like really coming into form. You know, like the first few weeks, you know, you can write that off because he was a rookie and he's still getting acclimated to the NFL, different game. But now, like, he's kind of starting to pick it up. And now I think teams should be worried, because this KC team, they're 14-1, right? 15-1? 15-1 now, maybe?
1 week left. So, yeah.
Whatever. They have 1 loss. They haven't scored more than 30 points.
Yeah.
So you got to worry about their defense, too. Their defense is showing up.
Yes.
Defense is looking great. So, I don't know, man. Like, it's I'd be obviously scared to play the Chiefs, even though they haven't looked convincing.
It's absolutely, because it's Mahomes and you can do everything right. And if you just have a 2-minute lapse, you can lose. We've seen it happen a ton this year in the regular season. Never mind the playoffs with the Chiefs in years past. They now get a little rest. They've been a little nicked up. You had that high ankle issue he's been working through, did Mahomes. And yeah, like you look at midseason, you're like, Worthy's not settled in. They lose Rashee Rice. You know, they're bringing guys in off the street. They're getting hurt. Now all of a sudden it's Hollywood Brown. It's DeAndre Hopkins. Juju's still there. Xavier Worthy's getting mixed in a ton. They've got 2 running backs they like in Hunter Pacheco. Like it's a scary team coming off bye once you get to the divisional weekend. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, they get the extra week, like you just said, which, I mean, look right behind me. No, other side. Look right behind me. Like I'm hoping they kind of rest up next week. You know, you don't need to play for anything. You locked up the 1 seed. How about you let the Broncos just walk right into the playoffs? You know,
it's an interesting finish. We'll get to it, because Cincinnati's not dead yet, and they've got a couple interesting games. Broncos, this is not an easy path for them moving forward. We'll get to your team in a moment, but for the Chiefs, that's now 4 Fourth time in 7 years they've locked down the top seed in the AFC. That's wild. You do 4 division titles in 7 years. It's great. Never mind the conference. And they're one of 3 teams that have clinched their divisions. Buffalo's had it done for a while because the AFC East is junk. And we know Houston ditto in the AFC South, even though they've kind of sputtered a little bit. of late. Everything else is up for grabs still. We talked about it last week. Like, I wish there's a little more drama. Like the AFC's kind of sewn up. It feels like it's tightened up a little bit, and every single division in the NFC is still up for grabs, including one in the AFC as well. So 5 of the 8 divisions, lots to play for with less than 2 weeks left, so to speak. Okay, next bit of news. We saw Baltimore Ravens put a beatdown on yesterday in Houston, in the Saturday Christmas game on Netflix, and Lamar Jackson, another signature game. He was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
MVP, or just a great candidate to finish second to Josh Allen in MVP voting.
See, that's what's tough because Lamar Jackson has the better numbers in almost every category. So, but it just feels like Josh Allen is playing better football because it was back-to-back weeks, putting up 40 points, kind of carrying the team. He had 6 touchdowns himself in one game. And so it kind of seems like it's Josh Allen, but I mean, it could be Lamar. Like, it should be based on statistics. He's having the better statistical season, so why wouldn't it necessarily go to him? That's what the award has been about as of late. So, I mean, I don't know. The only thing is, are they going to give it back-to-back when it's such a tight race? That's the question.
Well, the other part is that the supporting cast around Lamar is much better. I mean, Buffalo, James Cook has been very good, but he hasn't been King Henry. And you take the Baltimore wide receiving core, especially those 2 tight ends, over what they're running in Buffalo. Kincaid's been pretty quiet. They haven't really had a receiver emerge out of that group of guys. And so that kind of strengthens Allen's argument, is that you start looking at the rushing touchdowns and the scramble plays and just not getting sacked and taking plays for a loss. Like he feels like he's more central to their success. Whereas there's been games this year where you just have to hand to Henry and you're getting the win if you're Lamar. But again, we're talking about 2 excellent seasons if we're putting Saquon's season at 3rd, and that's where he's at in these MVP odds. Saquon Barkley, I don't know what more running back can do, and he's not going to get ahead of these 2 guys in MVP voting unless they both get hurt this weekend.
Absolutely. Kate, spin zone. Bengals make the playoffs. Joe Burrow, MVP.
Hell yeah. I mean, I would give it attention. It's just, again, for them to make, everything has to go right.
Yeah,
he's been awesome.
It's a long shot.
And you know what? Better, if we really want to frame it appropriately, from like week 5 on or week 4 on, whenever they got out of that early season tailspin, he and Jamar Chase have been MVP worthy. It's just 100%. That it was so ugly the first 3 or 4 weeks. And for whatever reason, Cincinnati's had a few seasons now where they just come out of the gate slow. And you're right. Like we talk about individuals. If Cincinnati had a middling defense, not an awful one, Joe Burrow should be in this MVP conversation, shouldn't he? Because they'd have way more wins. And they'd probably be right there with Baltimore and Pittsburgh vying for the division lead if they had any semblance of a defense.
Absolutely. I mean, Joe Burrow's been the best quarterback this season, like undoubtedly. Now, is that because his defense is so bad, he's got to continue to throw to try and get in the games? Maybe it's a little bit of that, but I mean, regardless, he's still doing it, right? So
it's an interesting point. Cincinnati's not really running down the clock late in any of these things. They're slinging it. So that'll help the numbers. Okay, NFC West, NFC South, and NFC North. We got some great finishes ahead. Now, the West we'll talk about today because the Seahawks are in action. They can still win the division. They have to secure a playoff spot they could get in without winning the division, but it's a huge game for them tonight to beat Chicago. They get the Rams in a win and you get the division type game in week 18. Rams this weekend have Arizona. They've been eliminated, but aren't that bad. I mean, different tiebreak scenarios. They wouldn't be eliminated yet. They've been awful of late. That's going to be a great game. Week 18, Seattle in LA to face the Rams. NFC South has been fun. We watched Tampa stub their toe, Atlanta pop up, but it does kind of feel like that's still Tampa's division to lose of late. And they both get Carolina once. Atlanta, a tough game in Washington this weekend. Tampa's got the easier slate. Carolina and New Orleans to close out. And the NFC North is just madness. The Chicago Bears, it's a tough gig getting drawn into this division because right now you're looking at 13-2 Detroit, who are the NFC 1 seed as it stands. Minnesota also at 13-2. They'll play Detroit in week 18 and can win the division and take that top seed away. But there's also Green Bay in the mix. They play Minnesota this weekend, and they'll play Chicago, wrapping their season at in week 18. I mean, Green Bay's 12-4. No one's talking about it. That's insane. A 4-loss team, and it's like, oh yeah, you're third, 11-4. There you are.
This might be like the most slept on 13-2 team maybe we've ever seen, just because of how dominant the Lions have been.
Yep.
But they've always been like the Minnesota's always been second in their division behind the Lions, right? So, I mean, I'm excited. I did talk about there's no real parity anymore and how they do the playoffs, but I mean, this is fun. Like week 18 for the division, for the 1 seed in the NFC, sign me up. Hook it in my veins. Like that's going to be so exciting.
And Minnesota's got to take care of business this weekend against Green Bay to get there. Detroit's got San Fran on a Monday. They've been brutal, but now that they've been eliminated, who knows? Maybe the pressure-free Niners look better. I don't know. They haven't made a lot of sense this year. Great divisional races coming down the stretch. That is kind of what we're looking at there. And again, a lot of football these days. We're not far away. It's this weekend, next weekend, and then poof, we will not have 2 games on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, until next September. Like it's wild card weekend, which is going to be a 3-game slate Saturday, and probably 2 on Sunday, 1 on Monday, something along those lines, or 2-3-2, 2-3-1, I should say, whatever it is. It's like those are all standalone games. And then from that point on, there's just not a lot of football left as we, slowly march towards a Super Bowl champion. Enjoy this. This is a fun final few weeks. Let's look at the odds for tonight's contest. Chicago at home with a mark of 4-11 up against the Seattle team that's been incredibly streaky. The money line certainly heavily favoring Seattle, as does the 4.5 point spread. Seattle's been a very, very tough team to figure out. They've started the season 3 wins in a row. They then lost 5 of 6. They then won 4 in a row, and they've now dropped back-to-back games against strong teams. So it depends what kind of mood Seattle's in. They've looked very good at times, and they've looked very pedestrian at times, even losing to the New York Giants. I think only one other team in the NFL has managed to do that this year. So I don't know that I have a strong handle on what we're going to get from Seattle, given the trends recently. And Chicago is a fascinating story because, of course, Caleb Williams, the first overall selection in the draft, a lot of hype about them actually being respectable this year, which felt a little bogus to us, but was out there. Then they start 4-2, and you're thinking, shit, why not the Bears? The quality start to the year. They've got a great receiving core, good defense. If they can protect Caleb a little more, why not? And they've promptly lost 9 in a row since then coming out of the bye. That is insane. 4-2, have a week off. They're going to rest up. They'll be great. 9 losses in a row. The Bears are absolutely in one right now.
Is that the only team maybe in NFL history that didn't want the bye week? Because
I'm sure they wanted it at the time. They've been dog shit since, though.
Exactly. I mean, what I don't understand is like there was so much hype about Caleb Williams because of the surrounding cast. Like this is the best situation any rookie quarterback is ever going to be in. With Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. And it was just bad, like he didn't figure it out through the air right away. But DeAndre Swift came over. He was playing pretty good. So, yeah, I mean, the Bears still have something to play for. Like they're still working through everything with Caleb Williams. They're not going to be easy. They have been putting up points against
head coaching
competitive
vacancy.
Teams. And yeah, exactly. And I mean, hey, did you hear Ben Johnson has interest in going to the Bears? That would be.
I heard Pete Carroll, the old Seattle guy. I mean, that's going to be a very attractive spot given a lot of the things there. Now, I will nitpick on one thing. I think very mainstream football fans, and I'll put myself in that category, will look at the fantasy positions or the star positions and say, look at how ready Chicago is to win. Mm-hmm. I think football people would say, if you really want a great spot for a rookie quarterback, it's a really excellent O-line.
For
Chicago
sure.
don't have that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's evident. Like he's always seems to be under pressure,
Yeah.
And so how can he really succeed? It doesn't matter who you're throwing the ball to. If you don't have time to do it, you're not going to have any success. And that's kind of what we've seen. Like it hasn't been great for Caleb Williams, hopefully, but he's at the end of the game, he ends up putting a decent stat line. So it makes it look not as bad as it actually is. But I mean, the Seahawks defense isn't anything to write home about. So maybe he has a good game.
Over-unders at 41.5. It's an implied point total of, I think, 23-ish for Seattle and 18-ish for Chicago. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. I would not. neither of these defensive are shutdown units, but also these offenses kind of have been in starts and fits as well. I don't know what we're going to get today. I'm excited to see what we get tonight. Let's check in with producer Jack. Happy holidays, Jacko. How we doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I had a good Christmas until about 11:06 a.m. when the Steelers went 3-and-out and the Chiefs instantly scored.
Right.
I am feeling much better.
I was going to say it must be really nice to have that 3 games in 10-day thing done for the Steelers.
Yeah.
But again, 0 wins in those 3 games.
0 wins. We wanted 1 win.
Yeah, 1 would be good.
We wanted 1 win, and
Seriously.
we got 3 blowout games. Just killed every game. But let's move on to this Thursday night.
Let's get to it. Okay. We've shown you the odds. Jack's going to get us the injury news. How are these teams dealing with injury as they are set to close out the season? Seattle trying to qualify for the playoffs. Chicago just playing for jobs and getting to the finish line.
Yeah, surprisingly, both teams are pretty healthy here. Obviously, the big one's going to be Kenneth Walker. He's going to miss. We'll see lots of Zach Charbonnet again as well. He's been pretty solid. It was a strange draft pick by them, a second rounder, I believe, after Kenneth Walker had kind of already taken that running back role.
Yeah, a year later, right?
But he's been dealing with injuries for the last couple of years, it seems like. So Zach's filled in nicely. That's pretty much it on the Seahawks side. On the Bears side, Tavon Jenkins, their left guard, he is going to miss this game. And then Gervin Dexter Sr., he's a young defensive tackle. He's missed the last 2. He has a chance to return tonight. Questionable.
Yeah, and interesting. I mean, the 9 losses in a row get to the finish line versus Seattle. I talked about it. They won 4 in a row, then they lost their last 2. Their loss to Green Bay and Minnesota. Doesn't mean they're not playing good football when you lose to those 2 clubs that have combined for 6 losses this year. That's it. Interesting. Let's look at the data, Tyson. What do we know? You've been cooking in the lab here. What do these defenses allow against the opposition?
We're getting a little green here, which
There's
is
a
nice.
lot of green there. Green means go. And again, if you're reading this, it is the offensive players against said defense. Green is good for them. Red is a spot. It's going to be tougher to succeed against that defense.
Green means go, like Pinder always says. So what I notice here, I mean, the greenest thing on the board is the rush yards against the Chicago Bears. They allow the second most, 117.2. Funny enough, it's actually not even close between first and second. The Panthers allow 140.
Panthers get slaughtered and people run the ball easily against them.
Well, we'll get to Saving Sunday later, but
okay.
they allow a lot of rush yards, but not a lot of receptions. 10.3, dead last in the league. That's bright red. I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty bright red.
That's a don't go here.
Yeah, for sure. Both middle or to the end of the pack for receiving yards to wide receivers, but we've got a couple matches to exploit there. And yeah, I mean, Seattle all around, not great against running backs, but has DeAndre Swift really been that great lately? That's a question.
Okay, so let's start cooking up some props here. We've got the data, we've got the injury news, we understand the implied point totals. Let us get to, I guess, the big green spot is rushing yards against Chicago. Is it 2 on the nose to be all over Zach Charbonnet today?
I mean, it might be, but I'm all in. I'm all in. I believe it is 67 rushing yards, 66 rushing yards.
Betfactor has 67 right on the nose as the over-under for rushing yards for Charbonnet against Chicago.
Yeah, we'll be taking that over. I mean, they allow almost double that on average per game. Now there's no Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
Is it Kenny McIntosh really going to be stealing a ton of carries? I'm going to go with no. Zach Charbonnet did come into this game kind of battling the week with an injury, practicing, not practicing. He did get a full participation, I believe, yesterday. So he should be wheels up on Charbs. He had 134 on the ground against Arizona. That was his coming out game. And so, I mean, it's just the matchup here. Seattle has something to play for. Chicago really doesn't. So I would assume that they're going to rely on the ground so much more. And I mean, just no Kenneth Walker and you just instill just Charbonnet there, I think wheels up.
Yeah, it's two big things. It's the opportunity. There's really no one vying to eat into his workload here in the backfield, given the Walker injury. And then secondly, you're up against one of the weakest run defenses in the NFL. All right, rock and roll. And he's a guy that we liked his productivity catching the ball early in the year, but he wasn't really efficient on the ground. That's gotten better the last month. He's been a better runner in terms of just yards per carry and actually being a little more efficient, hasn't he?
Absolutely. And even by the eye test, like, because sometimes you can see like a running back and sure, he's not looking great, but he's still producing. But Charbonnet actually looks really good. Like his speed to the outside is really good. He's like a bulldozer when he goes through the middle, and not as good as Ken Walker, but he's kind of developing that part of his game. And so he has adapted a lot better. And I mean, I'm excited for Charbonnet, especially with this massive opportunity for tonight.
All right, so that's our first prop bet of the day. Zach Charbonnet over 67 rushing yards, minus 118 on Bet Victor. Now, here's the thing. We looked at those pass defenses. They're pretty good. They're not great, but they're top third of the league. And yet, we're going to dive into a couple of these. Why don't we start with, I guess, the receiving yards for Keenan Allen?
I mean, have you watched him lately? He's been
lights out for 5 weeks.
And this is the problem. You're gonna have to sweat this out because he does all his work in the second half. So when you watch first half, don't get discouraged when he has like 12 yards. I mean, he's cleared this line. He's cleared this line in 4 out of his last 5 games. He's averaging 82 yards per game. But before that, he was terrible.
Yeah.
I think he had one. He didn't have a game over 45 yards until 5 games ago. And then he just exploded. He's been great. He's been finding the end zone. The Seahawks are on the 13th most man coverage, and Keenan Allen gets targeted the most against man coverage, as well as I think the stat is the Seahawks are getting targeted the 6th highest rate, and the Bears are throwing at the 6th highest rate to the slot position. So Keenan Allen should be doing good. They should be down in this game, needing to throw to their slot receiver. Keenan Allen over 61.5 yards.
He's had a couple 3 or 4 monster weeks in the last 5 touchdowns total his last 5 weeks. It's been a different looking quarterback wide receiver relationship between him and Caleb Williams, It's been really, I think something Chicago fans have been waiting for a while, because he's been such a money guy in San Diego and then Los Angeles, working with Rivers and then Herbert. It's just Mr. Steady Eddie. And finally, they're starting to see it in Chicago. This is the guy they brought in free agency.
Absolutely. He's been unreal, like just over those last 5 weeks. So I don't understand like what was going on. I feel like as a rookie quarterback, you would kind of want to rely on your slot dependable target a lot more than he actually did. Like to not even put up 45 yards for Keenan Allen seems a bit ridiculous. But I mean, they're starting to figure it out. They're getting the chemistry, and I really like Keenan Allen's matchup.
Okay, final bet. We jump on another wide receiver. JSN, the sophomore wideout for the Seahawks. Very quiet rookie year. Much better this year. What have you seen from JSN on the season, and why do you like him tonight?
It's just over these last few weeks. He has really become the focal point of this offense. Let's just look at his recent numbers here. Just the last 2 games, 8 catches, 10 catches. Before that, he had another 10-catch game. Like, he's getting hyper targeted in this offense by Geno Smith, and you've kind of seen not a decline from DK Metcalf, but it's because of JSN doing so well. And so I love it. The only thing I'm worried about here, we saw the data sheet.
Yes.
The fewest receptions allowed to wide receivers. Kind of scares me. But when you're on a run like this, like, I'm honestly not that worried. The Bears run the 3rd most zone coverage in the entire league. And JSN, not even just on his team, but in this matchup against the Bears, or with the Bears and Seahawks, he has the best numbers against zone coverage in the entire game.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go with just that better matchup. You know, he does well against the coverage. He does well in the slot. Bears aren't great in the slot. They're great on the outside, not a great in the slot. Earns a 19.1 target share in zone coverage. Give me JSN.
JSN over 6 receptions, even number there. So you get the push if it's close. Minus 125, the number on that on Bet Victor. It is a little scary. But again, Chicago's been so bad. I understand why there's not a lot of receptions to wideouts. They're probably good, but also teams are just running a lot late. I'm looking at their last 6-7 weeks. They lose by 17, lose by 18, lose by 25, close game, lose by 16, lose by 20. Like there's a lot of games teams have no interest in throwing against Chicago late. So we'll see what the game script delivers tonight, whether the Seattle's going to be one to run the ball late or if this is a close one. Chicago's been a tougher nut late, but still 9 losses in a row. No good at all.
Not at all. I mean, I'll give you the script right now. JSN goes off in the first half.
Okay.
Seahawks big lead. Don't need to throw. Run Charbonnet in the second half. Bears try to come back, throw it to Keenan Allen. And then we go 3-0. It's a perfect night.
Bang, bang, bang. Makes it sound easy, Jack. Get the Oracle over there.
Tyson's got the script.
He's got the script. Did Goodell fax you that over? How do you using some sort of encrypted? Okay, he's got insiders. Gotcha. Great weekend of football ahead, fellas, and we've already seen a few. We had the 2 Christmas Day games. We had the one tonight. So by my math, that still leaves 26 teams, 13 games to go this weekend. What is saving your Saturday, Sunday, Monday, fellas? What do you like this weekend? Because there's a couple gems here. First off, your Denver Broncos are in Cincinnati, who are not dead. Of course.
That's
and
what
Denver not beating the Chargers last week, making things a little bit uncomfortable. They are they're 9-6 if I'm correct, but it's like there's some work to do still here.
Hey, first off, congrats on the win. You know, got to be a humble loser. So
what the hell happened there? Denver looked like they were in control at the half.
What was that free kick field goal?
Nobody knows. We've.
I texted you guys. I was like, "What in the CFL is this?" Yeah, I mean, it has to be the Broncos Bengals. There's so much playoff implications there. Broncos just need one win, I believe, to clinch playoffs. And they got to do it against the Bengals, who we were just talking about how good Joe Burrow's been, like should be MVP. They're still in the conversation. That's going to be exciting. Well, I'm not excited for it. I'm a little worried, but it'll be a great game. So much on the line. And I mean, that's what we talked about a couple weeks ago. Like there's not a lot of parity. Now there is. Hook it in my veins. I'm excited.
Okay. Jack, Green Bay, Minnesota is going to be a banger. That's another one I've got written down.
Yeah.
That is a Sunday game. The Cincinnati-Denver game is Saturday, both afternoon games. Minnesota can still finish second in that division. I believe they can't win it, but not Minnesota. Green Bay can. But these are two great teams that I think we talked about earlier. Everyone loves Detroit. It's a great story. They were so bad for so long. The coach is an animal. They've had incredible injuries. They've played in some big primetime spots, Thanksgiving and others. Everyone's talking about Detroit in this division. There's two really good football teams that are kind of flying under the radar, aren't there?
Two very good football teams. I don't like Detroit is so banged up.
Yeah.
I would. Who are you guys taking right now to those three? I think I'm leaning Green Bay right now.
They're really young too.
They are really young, but they went there last year. They made it to what?
This is what I mean. I mean, I like a team that's young and good because they're still you're not worried about guys fading.
I think Minnesota will be the team that falls apart quick. Like I could see them.
And is that just the Sam?
Yeah, I think it's just the Sam.
Okay.
Like, and then the Lions are just like if they were healthy, I would be taking them. But right now, I'm leaning Packers. What about you, Tyson? Where are you in that division?
Well, it's kind of crazy because I've seen a lot of like former players. They're like, oh yeah, who are the top 5 teams that could win the Super Bowl or whatever, and they all put the Packers in there. And I'm like, they're low. Like you're not putting the Vikings in there. You're not showing them respect. Like, why the Packers? But I've kind of seen it. I mean, Josh Jacobs has been amazing, and they haven't really had to rely on Jordan Love. And so, I mean, you could just unleash that weapon and think about how good they're going to be, you know? So, I mean, I'm kind of with you, Jack. Like, I am worried about this Lions defense. Like, they're so banged up. No David Montgomery, no knuckles to Gibbs is Sonic. Like, it's not great. And you're absolutely right. Minnesota's probably going to crumble. I mean, everybody's always said that, this season, like, oh yeah, well, Sam Darnold's going to see ghosts again, and then he's not going to perform well. But I mean, we all know that he is the most likely to crumble in the situation like that.
More on the Packers. They lost in that crazy game in Brazil in week 1. Remember, that was one of the openers that we chatted about. That was a high-flying affair on a bad turf on another continent. They narrowly lose to the Eagles. They lose to Minnesota in week 4 in a nail-biter, 31-29. Their only 2 other losses all year have been the 2 Detroit games, who are very good and more injured than they were at the time when they beat Green Bay. Like, they're sitting there at a tidy number that getting no respect. I think we're all on the same page. Packers are a team no one wants to play right now. I think of the offensive weapons, the tight end, the 4 receivers they can go to, the running back. Like, it's a tough team to game plan against defensively.
Yeah,
very tough team.
Absolutely. You mentioned defense. Like, their defense has really improved. I mean, Jair Alexander's phenomenal. So yeah, it's not just an offensive fireworks team. Like, they can hold the fort down defensively as well.
Week 18's got some gems as well. We'll see what the stakes are, but we potentially have Minnesota, Detroit for the division, and Rams, Seahawks for the division. Seattle's got to not screw this up tonight to make that one happen. That would be a ton of fun. Divisional games, division on the line, last week of the regular season. The Chiefs are not going to start anyone anymore. Like, there's some teams playing for nothing, but the opposite is the best when you have everything on the line for 1 week or it's like pack up your locker, get out the garbage bag.
Yeah. One shot, clutch shot, go win it. I have a question.
Yeah.
Let's predict the Sunday night game in week 18. What do you think it's going to be?
Oh, so they're going to flex one? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're all scheduled for 10 right now, and then I think it after.
Yeah, they got the morning and the afternoon slot, and then they will flex one of them into prime time.
It'll either be the Minnesota, Detroit, or the Rams, Seahawks, I would imagine.
Yeah.
If it's win for the Rams, Seahawks, if it's win, you win your division, lose, you're out of the playoffs. I feel like that would be. I know the popular pick's going to be Detroit Lions, Minnesota, because it's for the 1 seed. But like, if it's high stakes like
That's
that,
a great
like,
point.
Winning, you're in the playoffs. Losing, you're out. Like, it's got to be that one, right?
Yeah, because both of them line up to be win and you win the division. But the consequences of losing in that Seattle LA one could be way bigger, where it's like, okay, so Minnesota, you're going to host a playoff game instead of get a bye, whatever. But to miss entirely, if you're the Seahawks, if you lose, I'm with you. It's also in LA, so it's out on the West Coast. It's not as difficult to put that later in the night. I was leaning the other way, but you've won me over immediately. I think that has great sex appeal. And if I recall the earlier game they played, I'm just checking it out here. Rams were there. It was 26-20. Rams beat them in LA. Like they play good games in the that was in Seattle, excuse me. So yeah, go to SoFi, throw it in your finest dance hall. Put it on there Sunday night.
I mean, that's a clear answer for me. Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I was kind of leaning the other way with Ryan as well. I just think it's the bigger game, better teams, better TV ratings when those two are going head to head. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely more on the line with Seattle and LA.
Trying to think what else could be up for grabs here.
What do we think with the NFC South here with Atlanta? So Atlanta's back in. Now they play Washington this week.
Washington just walloped Philly with that great come from behind
ridiculous game.
I don't like a lot of what Atlanta does. I don't think they're good. And Tampa's got a buttery
we all want to see Tampa in there.
Tampa's the buttery soft schedule. Carolina this week, who's been better, but it's still Carolina. And they close the season with New Orleans. So, what are they on their third, fourth quarterback? With Hainer, Rattler, Carzo.
They're so bad.
They're dust. They are toast.
First team to get shut out on the year. That's so fun. I mean, hey, I needed them to get 13 points in my fantasy football matchup to go to the finals. They got 17, so I'm pretty happy.
All right, there you are.
Your Rattler. Here we go.
Very
this
good.
This Commies Falkies game is going to be Falkies. I've never called them that ever. I don't know why I just did, but
that's Falkies.
Commies Falkies.
I've not heard that before. Okay. Now, as we've alluded to off top, this is the final Thursday nighter of the season. There is one more week remaining, and as you talked about, one game will get flexed into Sunday night. Everything is Sunday. They do that basically because it makes sense. You don't want a team coming in with 2-3 days extra rest, having played on Thursday in week 18, going into the playoffs against a team with different rest. It's a competitive balance thing heading into Wild Card Weekend. We get it. That also means this is our final Saving Thursday show because there ain't no more Thursdays. We got to wait till next September for a season opener for one. I do want to say a big thank you to our pals at Bet Victor who have brought us the program. Would encourage you to go grab the app, check out the lines for tonight's game. It's not just NFL, obviously. Huge selection of games you can go on, all the sports, all the leagues, all the markets. So thank you to them for that. Tice, it's been a ton of fun doing this year. Maybe before we go, do we want to pit a AFC v NFC Super Bowl prediction, and then we'll call it a season here on Saving Thursday?
I think that sounds like fun.
Okay. So if you want to go
what we think or what we want.
Well, I mean,
so don't put the Broncos in there. Is what you're saying.
Let's go with what we think.
I want you to predict what's going to happen. I don't want you to tell me that you want something that's unrealistic. I want you to try to pull out the Oracle's, shiny crystal ball. Okay, let's see what's in there.
Broncos probably win. No, I'm just kidding.
Get out of there.
It's so hard. I don't want to do this.
You're doing this.
She's going to say the
Oh,
Chiefs.
good. Like, they look so bad, but they're 14-1, 15-1. Like, what am I supposed to do? Give me the Bills. Screw that. Give me the Bills.
He's going Bills. Okay.
Give me the Bills.
Yeah.
I just think it might be his year. You know, we talked about the MVP race earlier with Josh Allen. Like, he's looking good. They haven't even used Amari Cooper yet after they traded him. Like, traded for him. The defense has been surprisingly better. I was so shocked that they're this good after losing so many pieces in the offseason. Like, they've really impressed me. Just give me Josh Allen. Josh Allen for the AFC and the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. NFC, who do you like?
Your pick. Your turn.
Oh, is that how we're doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you on Detroit. Too many injuries. It's a great team, but they've got to overcome more. I really like Green Bay, and I really like the Philadelphia Eagles. Where are we at on Hurts? What's the latest? Because of course, he had the devastating concussion exit and that comeback loss against Washington. Is there any sort of concern that he won't be ready to go when playoffs roll around, or is it too soon to say? Concussions, usually it's just he'll miss the next game and then he'll be good to go, is kind of the NFL's schedule unless it's a serious one like we saw with Tua. Yeah. If you have a healthy Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley is doing his thing, kind of like the Eagles. Mm-hmm. Last year they had that late collapse. They were 9-1 before that. Yeah. This year they put the pedal down lately. The one loss that's on Kenny Pickett for me in terms of like Jalen doesn't lose that game.
That's on Devontae Smith. He dropped the easiest first down ever.
And look, I just think that game looked like it was going to get out of hand, and then that injury happened and it changed everything.
The Eagles run away with it if Hurts is in.
So I'm going to go Buffalo Philly for my Super Bowl, but I do love the intrigue of that Green Bay team. Jack, you want to make an amendment, AFC or NFC?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm gonna take the Chiefs. Like, it doesn't make sense. They've looked so bad at times, but they're the new Patriots, and I hate them so much.
Yeah, it's true.
I really do. It's just like they get every call. Mahomes, like I thought I liked Mahomes, and then this year I'm like, no, I'm out on Mahomes.
It's like the brother, the wife, the dad. You're like, this is getting annoying, people.
It's getting annoying now. But they're 15-1. They have home field advantage in the AFC.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll come down to either Baltimore or Buffalo visiting them, and they'll get some ridiculous game.
Double overtime against Buffalo again.
Yeah. So I'll take the Chiefs. And then on the NFC side, I'm going to go with the Packers. I just like the way they're playing. I really it's just so up for grabs. I like the Eagles, but then I don't know. I'm not on the Vikings, Commanders, Rams, Falcons. It's between those three, I think. The Lions, Eagles, Packers. So I'll take the Packers.
Is there anyone we're disrespecting? And I'll raise a name. Baltimore is scary when they're right. And I know that your Steelers have played them tough, Jack, at times. Like, what was it? I guess it was 8 of 9 before they lost a couple weeks ago. But I just look at when it's 3rd and long just like Mahomes is somehow going to find a way. Lamar has that ability to do it again. And watching him run yesterday, at times in the season, you're like, he's dinged up. Those legs aren't as much of a weapon as they can be. He looked unbelievable running the ball yesterday, like just flying by safeties. Like that's a problem for everyone else.
Yeah. How many times have we said this, though, where he's been the MVP of the league and he's dominating, and then they've gotten to the playoffs and it just hasn't worked out?
I'm not saying what has happened. I'm just saying if you're going to write a script for someone to beat Kansas City or Buffalo, the parts are there.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, their pass defense has been dog-s all year. We've talked about it. They're that pass funnel. They don't let you run. They make you pass on them. But if you get Derrick Henry running confidently, you start owning the time of possession, you're keeping these other teams' offenses off the field, be that Buffalo, be that Kansas City. And then when you need a rabbit pulled out of your hat, you have Lamar. Yep. I mean, that's kind of the one thing all these AFC teams have in common. When it comes down to it, when it's you should have them, we got them 3rd and long, the 3 quarterbacks you probably want to play the least in the NFL are Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson, not in any particular order. Is that not the case?
Absolutely. Their legs, they can all use their legs as a weapon. And that's not something
cover everyone.
With everybody. Yeah.
They still can make someone miss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to go on the Ravens here, I don't know if we've got to be worried about that defense. I don't think that's a Super Bowl winning defense. Now, yesterday, they looked great against the Texans. Like Texans couldn't get anything on them. So maybe they're rounding into form, but like they were terrible. They were the worst. Yeah. The worst pass defense in the league to start the season. So, I mean, I don't know. The one team that we are disrespecting is the Detroit Lions.
Yes, we are.
Nobody brought them up. They're very hurt, and that's why I agree. I don't think it's just so sad. Like if they were fully healthy, this team would undoubtedly, I think, make it to the Super Bowl. But I'm actually with you.
Favorites, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be with you, Pinder. I like the Eagles. I actually think the Eagles win the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Love their defense and all that. So yeah, I guess the same.
I got Buffalo winning. You've taken Philly, and you're Kansas City again because we love the drama. It really would be if you want to talk about the NFL and the script and all that. Like, imagine having Tom Brady's career and the Patriots run, and you're like, that will be one of the most dominant runs we've ever seen, especially when you factor in the length of the season, when you factor in the salary cap. Like, this isn't the 72 Dolphins winning 14 games or whatever the hell it was. Like, that was just an incredible era. We're never going to see this again. But, of course, there's Mahomes at the end to win one against that team, to get over on Brady, and to win 3 in a row. I don't believe Brady did that once.
No, I don't think so.
Like this, we're talking about suddenly and almost immediately after saying this will be the greatest team we see in our lives. Maybe the Chiefs are that. And this is a year where they can put their flag down and stake a claim to being the best team in the history of the Cap Era. Isn't that wild?
It's insane.
And that's the script. That is like, if you could sell any product, that's the one, the NFL, that'll get the most ratings. When you feel like you're watching something special that will never happen again. You're tuned in.
Like, I just went through the whole Brady Pats thing. I don't want to have it happen again.
Exactly.
Oh, it's happening again, dude.
I know it is.
It feels exactly.
It could be worse if it's 3 in a row.
Every time the Steelers played the Pats, they would just get killed.
Yeah.
And they would just get out-coached, outplayed. Someone's running wide open, and it's the exact same.
It really is.
thing.
They scheme so well.
They do.
They take away what you're good at, and they scheme for what you're bad at. And that's what the Patriots did for a decade plus with Belichick. You had one little vulnerability. That's what they'd hammer on all day. You got some guys that are great for you. Well, they're getting doubled. Remember, it was week 1, Kansas City against Baltimore. It's like Mark Andrews is a key piece of this Baltimore offense. He was bracketed the entire season opening Thursday night. Like, cool, let someone else beat us. It's not going to be Mark Andrews today. There's a lot of similarities in the Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs. And, we all are beginning to have a very strong distaste for the Chiefs. That's for good reason. It's a really, really good team.
I know. I just hope we don't get that, because 3 in a row is too much. I mean, that's not something we ever had to deal with Brady.
And so here's if you want to talk script, you've got a couple swings at this thing. You've got Lamar and or Josh Allen could play the hero and slay this we don't want 3 in a row dynasty dragon, right? Like I'm so excited for these playoffs. It's going to be great. I think wild card week will lack a little bit of luster, but once we get beyond that divisional weekend and beyond, I mean, there's always good games. It's just I think there's a smaller list of contenders. We talked about Buffalo, we talked about Philly, we talked about Green Bay, Kansas City, Baltimore. I would really believe of those 5 teams we mentioned, 2 of them are going to be in New Orleans for the Super Bowl this year. And look, if Detroit somehow does it, even funner, because people are writing them off due to injuries, just as we have.
I mean, if Detroit makes it, I'm cheering for Detroit for sure.
Right.
I mean, that franchise has gone through enough. The least I could do is cheer for them in a Super Bowl, especially if they play the Chiefs.
That's Evil Empire. Yeah, that's Star Wars right there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited, man. Football. It's witching hour of the season right now.
Totally. 100%. Week and a half left. Let's quickly zip through our prop picks for today. It is Seattle at Chicago. This is your 5:25 Pacific start, 8:25 Eastern time, 6:25 here in the best sports viewing time zone, the Mountain Time Zone. Tyson, I'll have you know. Keenan Allen over 61.5 receiving yards, -118 at BetVictor. JSN, 6 receptions is the line. We're going to take over 7 or more at -125. And Zach Charbonnet with all kinds of opportunity and no competition for carries, it appears. We're going to take over on his meager total of 67 yards, -118, the number there. Enjoy the game tonight. Thank you for being with us this season. Thank you, BetVictor, for presenting Saving Thursday. Tyson, it's been a ton of fun working with you, getting to know you. Appreciate and respect all the work you put in to find these great prop bets that we've done so well on. And producer Jack, great to get you in the pocket of the sport you love, talking NFL. Been a ton of fun, gentlemen. Enjoy tonight's game, and hopefully we'll see you next September. This has been Saving Thursday for BetVictor.